Now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
I now live in a world where Donkey Kong Bananza exists, and that makes me very happy. As someone who's been making videos about my favorite monkey for over a decade, it gives me incredible pleasure to be able to talk about DK again. And with such a spectacular return being this first new entry is just the cherry on top of the banana cream sundae. I made a video way back in 2017 talking about all the things I'd like to see in a future Donkey Kong title, and Bananza hit essentially every item on that list, including a return to 3D, which I thought was a pipe dream and a half. There are so many aspects of Bananza I could cover for a good game design. DK's makeover making him more expressive than ever, the movement mechanics that start out smooth as butter and only get more impressive as you dig deeper, or its appreciation for the series as a whole, and a grand finale for the ages. But that's not what today's topic is going to be. Instead, we need to discuss Pauline, and how she just might be the best companion character Nintendo has ever created. And that's truly saying something because my initial reaction to her inclusion in the game was, not great.
But yes. Snowman said, and I quote, "Not gonna lie, I don't think I like Pauline in Donkey Kong Bananza. Everything else in the game looks fantastic, but she just doesn't fit the aesthetic of this game, and frankly, it doesn't feel like it needs it? ? There's already so much going on mechanically that adding the singing, etc. seems unnecessary."
At first glance, Pauline does feel a little shoehorned. There's already a lot going on with the Bananza transformation, skill trees, and collectibles out the wazoo. They could have easily just left it as Odd Rock and been fine. But to fully understand why Pauline elevates this trope, we need to take a quick tour of Nintendo's previous companions and see how they stack up. Now, to be clear, I'm not talking about Yoshi or Animal Buddies. Those are essentially power-ups that come and go depending on how you play. I'm talking about the little buddies that stick with you on the entire journey from start to finish. And most likely the first one that popped into your head is Navi from Ocarina of Time. This is the type of companion that I'll call the guides. You see, this was Zelda's first 3D outing, so Navi's main job was to keep you on track and make sure you always knew what your next destination should be. But in execution, the results were less than stellar. I feel like we've learned a lot about game design over the last 30 years, because simply lowering the frequency of Navi chiming in to tell you to listen, or making it optional in the menu and letting you know one time near the beginning or something, would go a long way in making her more bearable. But instead, we have a very friendly little fairy that really loves to talk, and doesn't serve much purpose other than that. I think she's the reason Link is able to use Z targeting, and she can help lead to points of interest, but the thing she's always remembered for is just being annoying. Unfortunately, there isn't much improvement from there over the course of the Zelda series. I'm not the most knowledgeable of every entry, but at least in the ones I've played, Link's future companions serve much of the same role. And Fi from Skyward Sword even gives Navi a run for her money in terms of irritating interruptions. I think there's a reason Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom mostly left you to your own devices in quiet exploration. There are lots of other ways to guide the player without having someone always watching over your shoulder. But there's certainly other reasons to include a companion character, like added gameplay mechanics. Let's take a look at Flood from Mario Sunshine. More than a simple power-up, this guy acts as both a guide in some story set pieces, but also the major difference in how Mario controls versus its previous entry. You can shoot water at goopy enemies, float across large gaps, and even swap out nozzles for loads of gameplay variety. The whole title is based around this idea, and cleaning up the environment on a beautiful tropical vacation. And other than a few janky moments here and there, overall feels super fluid to control and a refreshing take on traversal. Mario tends to be the king of companion characters. There are so many of them across nearly a dozen different games, but other than Flood, the vast majority of them are unremarkable. Paper Mario seems to always want to include one, but they don't really have a tangible reason for being there. It feels like they just need to have some reason Mario can do the fancy new gimmick or ability they cooked up, so throw some eyes on a paint bucket or something, that's good enough. There are tons of these guys that sort of just sit there, or you might forget they're even part of your team entirely. Like, I get it, Mario's all about gameplay, it's not gonna have a riveting story necessarily, but I would be shocked if you remember this guy's name without looking it up. I certainly can't. Now, the closest Mario came to having a really good companion is Cappy from Mario Odyssey. Obviously, Cappy's main reason for existence is capturing various enemies so Mario can transform into them. But he also introduces a ton of mechanical depth by allowing you to bounce on him and reach greater distances. A great precursor to DK Bananza, of course. He is your guide, but not in an intrusive way. And this starts to dip its toes into the third way companions are used, story elements, though admittedly this is pretty bare bones. Cappy's sister Tiara gets kidnapped along with Peach, so there's reason for Cappy to be motivated in stopping Bowser as well. But this aspect is pretty forgettable because you don't really see her again until the end, and it's basically just a copycat of the same cliche we've seen in every Mario game. Mario RPG party members sort of feel like they have story beats going for them as well, but for the most part they're hitching a ride on your adventure, not the other way around. You may help them along the way, but meaningful closure is few and far between. But ironically, this part where Nintendo usually drops the ball of having engaging story incentive is where Pauline shines the brightest. Now don't get me wrong, Donkey Kong has motivation, and it's the main driving force for Bananza's story. He just wants to get his horde of bananas back. But it's not necessarily relatable for the player. Pauline, on the other hand, is a great character to put yourself in the shoes of. She's scared, shy, and lost in these bizarre underground worlds, and just wants to get back home. At least for me, I feel a stronger connection with those ambitions than the one-track mind of punch first, ask questions later DK. On top of this, she slowly starts to come out of her shell and become more confident in her ability to sing, which ties in beautifully with Mario Odyssey, making this feel like an origin story I didn't know I needed until I saw it. She's also super adorable, which only helps to sell the protector relationship that unfolds as you play the game. You feel what DK feels when she gets swallowed up by this giant eel thingy. We gotta get her back! And you really notice her presence missing when she's gone because Pauline also nails the other aspects of good companions just as well. She's a guide for you by whistling to show the direction of the main path if you get lost, and mechanically she sings to open up bonus rooms, pumps you up with catchy songs to use bonanzas, and even gives you helpful callouts if you're close to a banana or other goodie. Every aspect of Pauline, from her gameplay additions to her personality, complement the overall experience rather than feel like a hindrance or unnecessary. Even little things like Pauline talking to you about your day as you drift off to sleep grow your bond with her and make her feel like an integral part of the journey. In a lot of ways, you get to feel like Pauline on DK's shoulders, saying, "Yeah dude, beat up that baddie," like you're a fly on the wall of this fantastical adventure. And then you root for her when her own story starts to come to fruition. It's a well-written character that feels like having a satisfying conclusion was the first priority, and then let the other elements fall into place naturally from there. I came to Bananza for the DK shenanigans, with all the banana slam and pandemonium that comes with it, and I was not disappointed in that realm. The loop of destroying a new level from top to bottom and discovering all the goodies within is truly magical. But on top of all this, I was surprised by how much I ended up caring for the little companion character, that normally I don't end up thinking about at all. And I hope this means that Nintendo will start to think a little deeper about what potential a truly great companion can provide in future adventures. When you look back at their track record, it truly is hard to get all three of those aspects right. And at least for me, the new gold standard is Pauline. Can you think of a Nintendo companion that helped perfect the overall experience? Or is there one that you wish was better but ended up being mediocre? Let me know in the comments below and let's talk about it. Thanks for watching another episode of Good Game Design. I'll see you next time. Stay frosty, my friends.